Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Wedge 52 Gridiron podcast. I'm your host, Wedge. Today's episode is going to be the 10-minute report on the Los Angeles Rams. If you guys are unfamiliar, that is where I study a team for 20 minutes, plus my already established knowledge, and then record a 10-minute podcast. Please do me a favor, follow me on Spotify and Instagram at Wedge52Gridiron, and check out my other episodes. And let's jump into the 10-minute report on the Los Angeles Rams. Starting off with the quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Last season, he faced a spinal cord injury about halfway through the season that took him out for the rest of the season. As far as I can tell, it looks like everything's good to go in terms of Matthew Stafford's health. He will obviously be the starter leading into the season. Last year in 9 games, he put up just over 2,000 passing yards, along with 10 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. While the interceptions, does make the eyes big, it's obviously not an ideal number to throw 8 interceptions in 9 games. Matthew Stafford was struggling to stay protected even in the pocket. I'll talk about the O-line here in a minute. And Matthew Stafford was also dealing with the injury to Cooper Kupp, along with the struggling offensive line. It'll be interesting here to see how well Matthew Stafford can hold up physically. Is in terms of his career, he's most likely coming to an end. If not after this season, it could be his last. We don't know yet. He hasn't announced anything. But he's had a long history of injuries in Detroit. He's had a couple big injuries. And then as well as now this injury. I think it's really going to depend on how healthy he could stay this year, which, is going to be largely impacted by the Rams' offensive line. Last year, the Rams' offensive line let up 59 sacks to quarterbacks, to Matthew Stafford, as well as Baker Mayfield and others who played behind them last season. 59 sacks is obviously a lot. I forgot to check. I would think that's top 5 or bottom 5, however you want to put it, in the league for most sacks allowed last season. And part of this was because of the Rams' offensive line was also dealing with injuries, dealing with moving parts. There was really no consistency except for starting tackle Rob Havenstein. He's the only offensive lineman last season for the Rams who played more than 70% of their offensive snaps. And Rob played 99.5% of Rams' offensive snaps. So, he was their guy. He was the only one who started all the games, played every snap pretty much. The next closest player was Coleman Shelton. I believe he's a center. He played for 70% of snaps, which is pretty good. That's for offensive linemen, But then after those two, 99%, 70% of snaps, the next closest drops all the way down to 45%. It's definitely hard to, find continuity within an offensive line unit. So many moving pieces, having different guys, filling in different spots, different points of the season. Offensive line is a unit that really needs to work, in unison, It's 5 guys on the field. They all have to be aware, alert, up to date in the schemes, defensive looks, defensive tendencies, as well as, understanding the offensive schemes and, being able to not only build that trust and build that chemistry with the offensive lineman to your left and the offensive lineman to your right, but also building that chemistry with the running backs that are in the backfield. Not only is it easier for offensive linemen to block when they understand the running back's, vision and kind of his cut tendencies and what his strengths and weaknesses are, but it also makes it much easier on the backfield. When they know the offensive line, they can tell, playing behind the same offensive line, the running back's going to be able to see the keys. He's going to know when a lineman has a block. He's going to know, kind of the lineman's technique and like flow within a block. He's going to be able to read that, cut off of it, help the lineman out by setting it up. So the Rams are definitely looking to, kind of bolster, we could say. The Rams really are just looking for consistently, even if you got 4 or 5 average to above average starters, like you don't need superstars, but you need 5 guys who can be reliable in terms of health and being on the field, to build that chemistry and at least give your team, a chance. To help with this, the Los Angeles Rams drafted offensive guard / center Steve Avila from TCU last season. They drafted him, I believe, 36 overall. That was their second round pick. They did not have a first rounder this year. I'm pretty sure that was because of the Stafford and Lions trade. So besides that though, they drafted a tackle in the 5th round from Georgia. So they're making it's obvious that they can see that their offensive line is a problem. I'm sure that they're hoping, along with all the Rams fans, that some of those guys can kind of step up a little bit and at least be consistent, and you're not going to go from one of the worst offensive lines to one of the best in one season, but if they can make that jump from bottom 3 offensive lines, I would probably argue, without looking and breaking down everything. But if you can move to make a stride to that 20th rank, launch point or 15 to 20, that would at least give you hope and give you something more to build on for the following season in terms of their offensive line. Following up on the rest of the offense, Cam Akers, he should be a big part of the Rams offense again this season. We saw him put up pretty good numbers the last 3 games of the season. Had 100+ yards in each of those contests. He's definitely going to be a large part of what Sean McVay and the Rams should be trying to do on offense, as well as Cooper Kupp should be healthy. There's no set date. There's no for sure yes, but all the reports, all the insiders, even the firsthand words from Cooper Kupp are that things are trending in the right direction. He's pushing it hard, and he's doing as much football activity as he can, as he's allowed to, and so far it's felt good. So they'll definitely Cooper Kupp's health will definitely be something to look at when it comes time to training camp. Cooper Kupp did miss OTAs. If some of you might be thinking that right now, but if you didn't hear it, it was not because of health concerns or performance concerns. He was at home with his wife having their 3rd kid. So moving on to the defensive side of the ball. One more point on the offense is they were the lowest scoring team in 2022 if you take out their 51-point performance on Christmas Day against the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos weren't really that good either last year. The Rams weren't that good, obviously, but they showed up that day and put up some points. So if you take that out, though, those 51, they are the lowest scoring team in the league last season. With that game included, they only averaged 18.1 points per game. Moving on to their defense, obviously they have Aaron Donald. No matter how old he is, no matter how close to retirement, myself or the rest of NFL fans think he is still so dominant and still draws one of the highest double team or even triple team percentage, or block rates in terms of all defenders, interior or exterior defensive linemen. And he still has, he's in the very top few in terms of pass rush win rate. So Aaron Donald, obviously, he's still there. But other than that, they kind of traded away or lost several key factors to that defense in free agency losing Bobby Wagner and Leonard Floyd. Two pretty good above average linebackers who both left to new teams. And then, of course, they traded Jalen Ramsey to Miami for a third-round pick, which I personally think that, I think last season Jalen Ramsey kind of had a little bit of a down year in terms of Jalen Ramsey, but I still think that Jalen Ramsey is obviously a top-tier starting cornerback who, in my opinion, is worth more than a third-round pick. But I think the Rams have kind of decided to go towards the rebuilding route and, reacquire some picks that they had lost during the Stafford trade. So that wraps up our 10 minutes, which leads me to my record prediction for the Los Angeles Rams in the 2023 season. And I predict that the Rams will go 5-12. That'll be it for the 10-minute report on the Los Angeles Rams. Thank you guys again for listening. Please check out my other episodes. I'm dropping a podcast every day of July, so make sure you guys check those out. Run those up. Follow me on Spotify and Instagram at The Wedge 52 Gridiron. Have a good day and go Ravens.